In the story of America, some names echo louder than others, not because of privilege or entitlement, but because of perseverance, vision, and the quiet conviction to dream when others doubt. Ronald Wilson Reagan was such a name, a man born into modesty who rose to the highest office on earth, not by accident, but by an unshakable belief in the goodness of people and the promise of tomorrow. His was not just a political journey, but a deeply human one, marked by faith, setbacks, courage, and a voice that gave hope to millions. This is not just the story of a president, this is the story of a boy from small-town America who became the voice of a nation. Ronald Reagan was born on February 6, 1911, in Tampico, Illinois, in a small apartment above a bank. His family wasn't wealthy, far from it. His father, Jack, was a shoe salesman who battled alcoholism. His mother, Nell, was a woman of faith, resilience, and heart. It was she who filled young Ronald with a belief in goodness, in God, and in the power of kindness. He would later say that everything he knew about decency, he learned from her. As a boy, Reagan was nicknamed Dutch because of his father's remark that he looked like a fat little Dutchman. But the name stuck, and so did his spirit. Even through hardship, Reagan held on to joy. He caddied on golf courses, washed dishes, and worked summers to help his family. He believed in earning his way, and he believed in dreaming beyond his circumstances. Reagan attended Eureka College, a small Christian liberal arts school in Illinois. He didn't have much money, but he had ambition. He played football, acted in plays, and even led student protests against faculty cuts, an early sign of leadership rooted not in ideology, but in principle. After college, he pursued broadcasting, eventually landing a job as a radio sports announcer. His voice, smooth, warm, charismatic, caught attention. But fate had more in store. In 1937, while in California for baseball coverage, he took a screen test with Warner Brothers. He passed. Just like that, Ronald Reagan became an actor. Hollywood embraced him. Over the next 2 decades, Reagan starred in over 50 films. He wasn't the biggest star, but he was beloved. His roles in movies like Newt Rockney, All-American, and King's Row showed his charm and dramatic range. But behind the camera, Reagan was changing. The horrors of World War II, the rise of communism, and his time as president of the Screen Actors Guild opened his eyes to the battle between freedom and control. He started as a New Deal Democrat, even campaigning for Truman. But slowly his beliefs shifted. He saw government not as a savior, but as a burden. He believed that people, not programs, move nations forward. "I didn't leave the Democratic Party," he famously said. "The Democratic Party left me." As his acting career slowed, Reagan found his second stage, politics. His speeches were electric, not because of anger, but because of clarity. He painted pictures of possibility. His 1964 speech, A Time for Choosing, delivered in support of Barry Goldwater, launched him into national prominence. It wasn't a speech, it was a wake-up call, and it echoed across the country. In 1966, Reagan ran for governor of California. Critics called him a lightweight. Voters called him a leader. He won in a landslide and was re-elected in 1970. As governor, he faced student protests, budget crises, and deep political division. But he held firm. He believed in tough decisions and simple truths, that freedom mattered, that responsibility mattered, and that character counted more than charisma. For years, Reagan flirted with the presidency. In 1976, he challenged sitting President Gerald Ford for the Republican nomination. He lost, but the seeds were planted. In 1980, with the nation facing inflation, unemployment, and a crisis of confidence, Reagan ran again. He was older, 69 years old, but sharper than ever. He asked America a simple question: "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" The people answered. He defeated Jimmy Carter in a landslide and became the 40th president of the United States. But the real work was just beginning. Reagan entered the White House during troubled times. The economy was in freefall, the Cold War was raging, Americans were losing faith, but Reagan never lost his optimism. He believed in what he called morning in America, the idea that no matter how dark the night, dawn always comes. He cut taxes, slashed regulations, and stood firm against the Soviet Union. His economic policies, dubbed Reaganomics, sparked growth and controversy. But through it all, he remained steady. His belief was simple. If you free the individual, you empower the nation. His foreign policy was bold. He called the Soviet Union what it was, an evil empire. He built up the military not to provoke, but to deter. He believed peace was only possible through strength. And he stood before the Berlin Wall and demanded, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." That wall would fall, not because of force, but because of the strength of Reagan's vision. He didn't just confront communism, he outlasted it. He gave people behind the Iron Curtain a voice and a hope. But Reagan's presidency wasn't without pain. In 1981, just weeks into his first term, he was shot in an assassination attempt. A bullet missed his heart by inches. As he lay in the hospital, he joked, "I hope you're all Republicans." Even in crisis, he led with grace. He recovered and grew stronger. His humor wasn't an act, it was armor. And it reminded a frightened nation that their leader was still standing. He survived political storms too, from the Iran-Contra affair to economic setbacks. But what never wavered was his moral compass. Reagan believed in America, not just as a country but as an idea, a place where anyone, even a boy from Tampico, could become president, a place where liberty wasn't handed down from government. He won re-election in 1984 in one of the largest landslides in U.S. history. The country believed in him, not just his policies, but his tone. He made Americans feel proud again, and when he left office in 1989, his approval rating soared. He returned to California, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. "I've had the time of my life," he said, and he meant it. In 1994, Reagan wrote a letter to the American people. In it, he revealed that he had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. It was a heartbreaking moment. The man who had once moved nations with his words would now begin to forget them. But even then, his grace shined. "I now begin the journey that will lead me into the sunset of my life," he wrote. And for the next decade, he lived quietly, cared for by his beloved wife Nancy, the rock of his life. Ronald Reagan passed away on June 5, 2004. The world mourned. From Berlin to California, from world leaders to ordinary farmers, people wept. Not just for a president, but for a man who believed in them. His funeral was a testament to his legacy, solemn, grand, and filled with love. But Reagan's real monument isn't in marble. It's in the millions who believed again, because he reminded them to. He once said, "There's no limit to what a man can do or where he can go, if he doesn't mind who gets the credit." He lived those words. He didn't seek power, he sought purpose. He didn't chase fame, he carried faith. He didn't pretend to be perfect, he strove to be principled. And in doing so, he became something rare, a leader who led not by division, but by dreams. Ronald Reagan's story is more than a political journey. It's a reminder that no matter where you begin, greatness is possible. That optimism is a strength, that courage is contagious, that faith in God, in people, in freedom can light the darkest night. He made us laugh, he made us think, he made us believe. And today, in a world hungry for vision, hungry for hope, his words still echo, "America is too great for small dreams. So dream big, stand tall, work hard, speak kindly, and never forget, as Reagan taught us, the future will always belong to the brave."